Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. In a meeting with President Karol Nawrocki at the White House, Donald Trump has stated that U.S. troops will not only stay in Poland, but could even increase, calling the Warsaw-Washington bond a very special relationship. And to discuss what this means for security, politics, and Poland's place in the world, we're now joined by Jan Truszczyński, a former Chief Negotiator for Poland's EU accession. Thanks so much for joining us here this morning. Now, Mr. Truszczyński, I want to start first with a short clip of Wednesday's meeting in the White House with President Nawrocki and President Trump. Now, the context here, of course, is security. That's important to Poland. Let's hear what they both had to say about U.S. troops in Poland.
Will American soldiers remain in Poland?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, do you know something I don't? I don't know. Yeah, we're very happy. If anything, we'll put more there if they want. But they've long wanted to have a larger presence. We have some countries that have more, not too many, but no, they'll be staying in Poland. We're very much aligned with Poland. I think there's a great trust and a great, more than most countries, more than almost any countries. We have some in a category that's very special, and Poland is in that category. We have a very special relationship. It's like the question about the soldiers that was asked. We never even thought in terms of removing soldiers from Poland. We do think about it with regard to other countries, but we would never know. We're with Poland all the way.
This is the first time in Polish history, in 20th century and the 21st century, that the Poles are happy that we have foreign soldiers in Poland.
All right, so they do seem to be powerful words there from Donald Trump. What do you make of this? I mean, is this an ironclad security guarantee for Poland? Can we expect more? There's already 8,000 U.S. troops. What do you make of his statement?
Well, the so-called global posture review, the analysis by American military planners, where they need to have troops and how many troops is not over yet. So here, Donald Trump has, in a way, issued guidance to his military planners. Whatever you do, you must leave our soldiers in Poland, and if there is a need to add some more, then go for it. That is positive news for Poland. That is positive news for the eastern flank of the NATO. We must see it in the context of our overall transatlantic assertiveness, visibility and presence confronting aggressive Russia. So in that sense, it is, of course, very positive news.
Mm-hmm. It's positive news, and also I think worth noting is Poland spending 5% of its GDP on defense, one of the top defense spenders in NATO. I mean, does this have anything to do with that? Is this connected? Does this give Poland more leverage? Did that give Nawrocki more in that meeting yesterday?
Well, Nawrocki or no Nawrocki, Poland is the correct word here. 5% for national defense is, of course, the world record. Well, perhaps not the world record, but the European record anyway. So it undoubtedly adds to our leverage with Washington. And well, that's what I want to say about it. Nothing more. It adds, it helps. It is something we need anyway, U.S. or no U.S. But in the context of overall activity of transatlantic pact, the fact that so many other countries have committed to raising their military spending to 3.5% by 2030, Poland is undoubtedly one of the very few leaders, and in that sense, Poland is a trusted and worthwhile, useful ally of all the others, including the Americans, including the U.S.
Mr. Truszczyński, I want to ask you, because you said there, not Nawrocki, but Poland, that's the main operative word here. I'm curious because in your history as a diplomat, you've been in the diplomatic service for some time. If I can ask, I mean, it was President Nawrocki who went into that meeting yesterday at the White House without the head of mission of Poland to the United States, without coordination very much with the foreign ministry. How unusual is that if you look back at other Polish presidencies and governments? And what does that say about how this president is going to be coordinating with the government?
Well, it is unusual, of course. The courtiers of Mr. Nawrocki, all his so-called ministers, they engaged in much warfare with the government in the past few days and longer. This pettiness, this aggressiveness, this political infighting, this willingness to inflict damage on the government is, of course, harmful, and it is totally unnecessary. All the more so that whatever comes between Poland and the United States next, like the large-scale project of which we heard yesterday, we don't know yet exactly what it might be. Perhaps military facility, perhaps military facility combined with permanent military presence of Americans on our ground, perhaps something even more technological center of sorts. Remains to be seen, but whatever it is, it will require much involvement of the government, perhaps quite a lot of money. Obviously, President alone cannot do anything in this regard. Tight cooperation with the government, and what shall I say? It is absolutely evident that without good cooperation between the president and the government, the effectiveness of our foreign policy overall will suffer, and the effectiveness of our links with Washington will suffer as well.
Mm-hmm. And just briefly, I'm curious because I'm in your experience as well, looking back at other cohabitations where there have been different parties with each other in presidency and also the government. If we look at President Kwasniewski potentially or President Wałęsa, is this unusual in this sense? Has this happened before on this front, or how do you compare this current combination right now with the past in your experience?
It was absolutely different then. I had the good luck of serving as Poland's ambassador during the Buzek government, center-right government, while Poland's president was already Aleksander Kwaśniewski. And back in Poland, I joined Aleksander Kwaśniewski's office as his European advisor, and in that sense, in that capacity, I was attending the meetings, regular meetings of the Governmental Committee on European Integration. I can tell you that the amount of trust, the sense of being in the same boat, the sense of working together for a common goal, shared goal, membership of Poland in the European Union, that was almost complete, and cohabitation, as we like to call it in Poland, cohabitation, was an example, almost a role model for other cohabitations elsewhere in Europe and in the world, how it should be done. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, we have only seen the first month of new president's action. I'm not impressed regarding the quality of relationship with the government. I believe those who say that the ultimate goal of Mr. Nawrocki is to bring about as early downfall of the government as possible. And it is in that sense that we should perhaps be looking also at what his entourage is doing in terms of cooperation on foreign policy issues with the government. Mm-hmm. It's painful, and I hope it will change, at least to some extent. As I said, whatever comes next between us and the Americans regarding the increased, beefed up military presence of America here will require the closest possible cooperation between the president, his people, and the government. Mm-hmm. We will see whether that materializes.
Right. I do want to talk about that partnership again. I mean, one thing which was also noticeable yesterday on his arrival, President Nawrocki had that flyover of the F-16s and that fallen man, the lost man maneuver. I think that was quite significant. What do you make of that kind of gesture and the symbolism? Also, President Trump giving Nawrocki a chance to talk about this. I mean, this also has not just symbolism, but what do we make of that, what that means between now and also the future of relations between these two countries?
A nice gesture, welcome gesture, of course, goes without saying. It confirms that Nawrocki is seen by Trump as an ally in Europe, also personal ally, that Mr. Nawrocki's presence on Polish political scene is regarded by Trump and perhaps by the entire MAGA movement in America as a political asset, asset for the future of the overall relationship between America and the European Union. So gestures are always welcome. Positive atmosphere during the talks and during the meeting with the press is always welcome. We have seen Mr. Trump in action with other presidents, and it was different. So this lack of any animosity, on the contrary, display of friendliness is something that confirms, yes, Poland with President Nawrocki is an asset for America, a partner, an ally, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And we also heard briefly in the White House, President Trump mentioned also quite warmly former President Duda, etc. But at the same time, does this at all, in your mind, your experience, does this give Poland, let's say, more say? Is Trump going to be listening more in terms of that threat from Russia? Is he going to be swayed by anything that he heard yesterday by President Nawrocki?
Well, of course, we don't know what exactly has been said by whom behind closed doors on the Russian aggression and the possibility of bringing about a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. Nawrocki confirmed that he shared his assessments of Russia's aggressive posture with Trump. That's okay, that's fine, that was needed. We haven't heard anything new from Mr. Trump in public with the press. It seems that Trump is at a loss at present. What should be his next step, when, and how he should move in the nearest days and weeks. Here, we haven't heard anything of real interest, anything new. When talking to the media, Trump limited himself to deploring and despairing about the futility of that conflict, the loss of life, and so forth. But no signal regarding the possible American pressure on Russia and on Putin in the coming weeks. And that is needed, of course. That is needed. That is something that all European leaders have been sharing with Trump in the course of the past weeks. I hope that Nawrocki did the same, and with the same kind of force and persuasiveness as others before him.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so, I mean, still, as you said, a significant meeting also for Poland. This is something, security is something that at least many can agree on really matters for NATO and for this country. Look, thank you so much. We'll conclude it there. Really enjoyed all your insights here, that diplomatic heavyweight. Jan Truszczyński, thank you so much for all that today.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us here on TVP World, but there's much more coming up, so stay tuned. Goodbye.